So welcome. Let's have this conversation. But you are the founder and CEO of Soko Directory. I think we can begin there, which is also your Twitter username. Interestingly so.
Soko analyst, basically meaning a market analyst, but corrupted it for Swahili because our audience is more or less East African.
Yeah.
And we do business news. We track anything to do with money, financial literacy, fintech, markets, stock market, investments, circles, everything to do. We bring out the news. We direct people where to put the money, and we try to actually get Kenyans to be sober when it comes to investing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I lead a team of 16. And as you've said, looking at COVID, it's been an interesting 2-year period since 2020. Now as we head into elections, hoping that what we're actually seeing will be able to see us recover.
Right.
Yeah.
As someone who's had a look at the numbers and of course looked at the trends as well since 2020, as we've mentioned, since the first case, I think around 19th of March 2020 to now, would you maybe paint us a picture on how the economy is looking like right now as compared to back then? Interestingly, having this conversation around the time when the government is raising alarm over a new wave of COVID-19, how is the economy looking like?
From a macro perspective before COVID, let's look at the last quarter of 2019. We had our own issues. The economy was actually struggling. We'd been in a constant campaign mode. We were losing jobs still. Access to credit, opportunities was actually a big challenge. Now COVID actually made it worse. Basically COVID, I mean, it's like having malaria and typhoid, then you get a bad flu. You know, that now sends you from normal ward to ICU. So COVID did actually now expose our underlying issues. We had problems. As a country for the last decade, we've been struggling in terms of our job creation. We've been struggling in terms of being able to access credit. We've seen little investment in manufacturing, production, and agro-processing. So with COVID, it basically blew open what our underlying issues were.
Right.
And from the second quarter of 2020 to this quarter, things have actually been a struggle. When we reopened the economy last year, we've been recovering basically from last year, October,
right.
August, September, we've been recovering to at least go back to where we were in 2020, first quarter.
Right.
And we're still not there because now we have 2 issues that we need to factor in. Other than COVID, we've seen the political environment. All the people who are supposed to be helping manage the country are not actually doing that. They're busy campaigning. And then the war in Ukraine and Russia. That has actually changed how globalization and geopolitics across the globe is actually going to be. How we knew things to be, we are now going to see emergence of new interests. We've seen France actually pushing for reintroduction of Iran war. Iran oil into the market.
Right.
We know Iran has actually been under serious sanctions for the last 2 decades. So for European countries to push for removal of the embargo and sanctions against Iran shows that we are going to see a change in how geopolitics is actually done. We've seen a very great negative impact on agriculture in Africa because we import a lot of fertilizer and fertilizer components from Ukraine and Russia. So now African states are trying to see how best they can be able to be self-sustaining in terms of agriculture. But all this is because of how COVID was, because COVID literally exposed us.
Exposed our woes that we've already had.
We saw how inadequate we are in terms of manufacturing, in terms of agro-processing, in terms of production, in terms of microchips. One of the things that actually positive about Kenya is that during the COVID period, we launched a microchip production unit in Nyeri, I think at Kimathi University. And this is actually a very big progress in Africa because electronically production of any electronic component, either for TV, phones, or cars, is actually very critical. And we saw the slowdown of production of electronics and cars across the world because of
the shortage of semiconductors.
Yes, but now we can be able to produce the same. So it's a plus for us.
Right.
So the thing is just to be able to create the right environment for many more businesses to be actually take up. But if we were to look at a micro aspect of it in terms of now from the lenses of youth-led businesses and entrepreneurs, young people have actually been hit the most because one, access to credit is actually a big challenge. Established businesses will have no challenge in accessing credit because they have collateral. For young people, accessing credit has been a challenge because you will need collateral or security to be able to access credit. So there have been very few organizations or brands that have actually been giving or forwarding loans to young people or to any business without, unsecured businesses. So we've seen that certain businesses actually coming up and offering loans to a particular level without security. But you need to show muscle that your business is actually very viable. And for many young-led businesses, viability is actually a big challenge because there's a lot of competition from established businesses. There's a lot of competition for... The problem with Kenya and East Africa, when one person opens a business here, you see
another one also opens
10 other opening tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's stiff competition. There's the issue of counterfeit. There's the issue of toxicity in terms of regulatory framework and a very stringent tax regime. We have a challenge of partnerships. So these 5 problems actually make it very difficult for young businesses to be able to thrive and work. Because one, young people don't understand how to work together. So the issue of working together in partnerships. If you look around, we've seen, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen in the paper, or even online, young people being caught up in illegal businesses, fraud, especially
the
online.
Daily Nation is calling it a wash paradise.
And that's actually a very big problem. And we've seen, and it's not a challenge. For me, I don't think the young people have a problem. It's our elders. We don't have mentorship. We don't have good stories to believe in. You see, young people believe at 25, when you're still in university, you can drive a V8. You can do a Range Rover, you can do a house in Runda. And they don't understand that it takes time, that all these things take time, that you need to trust in the process. As a good success story takes at least 20 years. That means by the time you're finishing campus at 23, 24, 25, you'll be 45 plus to actually be a success story. But you see, for us,
we just want it immediately.
And it's not our problem, because when you look at what our elders are doing, when you look at our politicians, when you look at our leaders, they're using shortcuts. They're stealing from our taxes, they're stealing from the public to be able to show us that this kind of life. So for us young people, we're asking ourselves, why should I wait for 20 years? Why should I take the long route? Why should I trust the process when I can do what my elders are doing to get there? And this is a problem. Even when you look at the papers today, online fraud,
scams,
there are a lot of them, because young people believe if our elders are doing the same, why can't I just follow? So there's a problem of believing and trusting and hearing good stories. We're not telling good stories enough. Even those successful people are not opening up and talking about the challenges they've been able to face. And COVID actually made it worse. It exposed all our underlying issues. Young people are taking shortcuts. The issue of wash, the issue of bad politics. If you look at young people getting into politics, if you actually audit their wealth, you'll actually be shocked that someone came to campus to do teaching or education or physics or computer science, but what they're doing in real life
is completely different.
It doesn't add up. And if you audit them, they're not paying taxes. If you audit them, they cannot be able to account. So we need to tell more stories of businesses that are actually doing very well. There are young people doing a lot of good work, especially like I've just seen what you guys are looking at, poultry farming. East Africa, by 2025, will be 550 million people in East Africa. With Congo being the leading country with almost 100 million people, I think followed by Tanzania at 60 million, then Kenya at 55. And there is a huge opportunity for business in manufacturing, in production, in agro-processing, in logistics, in security, in textile. And the biggest opportunity we have is talent, entertainment, and hospitality.
Of course.
I've seen a lot of young people online.
Now that we are in a digital space, of course, that's bound to also be one of those ones. Which
a lot of young people are actually making a lot of money being influencers, being content creators. But what I keep saying is that for young people to make more money in being influencers is that we need to have more factories.
Yeah.
Because we cannot keep influencing for Safaricom alone.
Yeah,
we cannot
need
keep
other things
creating content for just one brand.
True.
We need more brands for us to be able to create more content.
So then, now if you look at it at micro perspective, which is youth-led businesses, you've mentioned a few things which are really interesting. One is that guys who are supposed to be taking care of the issues in the country, who are in government, are very busy on the campaign trails, which means no one is listening to the cries of the youth. The tax regime is falling hard on them, more taxes also as well. Access to credit becoming a problem. How can then, what steps can small businesses, which are mostly youth-led, what steps can they take to survive in such a COVID economy, now that we've realized we're not really out of COVID, we're just surviving with it?
Let me use my story as an example. SocoDirect.com is almost 10 years old. But officially started operating in 2015 now, legally, trying to pay our taxes, managing to pay our taxes, paying salaries and stuff like that. As I've said, there's a lot of opportunity, and especially that I'm hoping that once we're done with this election, we can actually go back and focus on work. If you look at what's happening in the political environment, the people who are going to actually define the way forward for this country are the young people. And my challenge to the young people is we are the warriors who are going to take this country to the next level. In terms of accessing credit, in terms of surviving businesses, one, I'll tell Kenyans, young people or young-led businesses, is that keep your records. For every deal you do, if you're going to influence for something or a brand, document it. How much it cost you to do content, how much you paid your other employees, out of this, how much went to tax. Keeping a good record of your transactions is actually very important, because when you go asking a bank or any institution that does that they give credit, they will ask you for your records. And one of the challenges I went through is that I never used to keep my records. But the moment you started keeping your record, it becomes very easy to know whether you're making profits, doing losses, or breaking even and things like that. Secondly, it's actually good to leverage on other businesses. So if we see for us, for example, we want to be the Bloomberg of Africa. So we will leverage, like me being here, for example, I'm leveraging my business by using your networks.
Right.
People can actually be able to see what we do and what we talk about.
Nice.
So young people need to understand that partnerships are not, competition is not bad. Competition is actually very good. And you can see if this person is doing the same thing I'm doing, what are they strong at? Do they have more employees than me? Do they have access to their networks? So keeping records is important. Going out and actually looking for partnerships is actually important. Research. Understanding the market is actually key, so that you just don't come and sell clothes because your neighbor is selling clothes. So I know, as I've said, we have a huge market in East Africa. 500 million people at the moment. 490 million people at the moment. So young people should do research and see if people are buying clothes, what kind of clothes are actually moving faster. Are they kids? Are they young people going out? Are they dinner clothes? Are they official? Research and research and development is actually very important.
Right.
What apps are important? We saw hailing apps becoming a thing. Now we've seen people, delivery apps. Understand the behavior of people, and how you do research is that everything is digital.
Right.
Go on Facebook, go on
All
Twitter.
these numbers are there.
Just understand. Look at the conversations people are talking. What are people talking about? If right now we are talking about politics, what is the common theme in terms of politics?
That's going on,
and what I keep telling young people is, do not expect government to come to your aid. Many of your colleagues, when you finish here, probably are going to look for a job in another media house. If you can come together and say, instead of, now, like you guys have experience, instead of saying that we're going to a particular media house to look for jobs, come together. Bring a camera,
to climb the ladder individually.
Yes, bring a camera, bring a laptop, bring a tripod stand, start doing shows, videos for Facebook.
Right.
Slowly you'll have 2-3 clients, but you see, because what you're bringing together is you're bringing in your expertise, your skill set. And our labor market is actually very complicated, because there's a disconnect between education and the labor market. But if you guys can be able to bring in the skill set needed, if you can be able to work together, it'll actually take you guys far. Young people should not expect government to come to their aid, because it's not the role of government to create jobs. It's the role of government to be able to create the right environment for young people to thrive. And for me, what I've realized is KRA, CMA, NSC, they're not the enemy.
Yeah.
Our enemy is poverty. So what young people need to do is reach out to KRA, reach out to CMA, reach out to NSC, reach out to other organizations, reach out to Ministry of Treasury and understand how can we partner with you guys so that we can be able to educate other young people on how to pay taxes, on how to raise funds on the stock market, on how to be given the right license by CMA to be able to come together. Our competition authority of Kenya, how can it be able to educate people? Like for example, if this is okay for me to say, we are getting into election mode, but how many young people are actually concerned about elections? How many young, like for example, Kenyatta University Television, have you guys reached out to IEBC to seek a partnership to educate the young people? Young people are now found on TikTok and IG.
How do we get this information to them?
To them, so that they know that it is important for them to come out and vote.
Right.
It is important for them to actually come together and see, because if you go on TikTok, you'll find out young people making a lot of amazing content. But if they just worked together, they can come together and reach out to different brands, do content for different brands, marketing. So digital and technology has actually changed how we
look at things.
And instead of saying, oh, this is the enemy, how do we come together and say, instead of IEBC paying you guys, how can we work together as a partnership, educate more young people to come together? Because this election is an opportunity for young people to be able to bring in the right leadership. The right leadership that will create in the right laws, the right environment for young businesses to be able to grow.
Now, you've mentioned that, of course, people should not be waiting for the government, especially the young people, not just waiting for the government. The enemy is not KRA, CMA, NSC, the enemy is poverty. Are there opportunities that have been realized as a result of COVID-19 that you would mention? And in what ways would you say the private sector can come in plugging in these issues, especially of unemployment?
There are a lot of huge opportunities. Before COVID, we were very complacent. Before COVID, we were very okay with how things were. Before COVID, we didn't understand the exact positioning of our economy as a country in the region and globally. COVID, as I've said, COVID exposed our underbelly. Opportunities are there. One of the key important things that COVID taught us is the need to be self-reliant. As a country, we need to be self-reliant. We cannot be importing toothpicks, diapers, we cannot be importing clothes, shoes, phones, and things like that. As a country, what we've realized is that we need to be doing these things ourselves.
Right.
And this portends and creates a huge opportunity for young people. With technology, 3D printing, being able to monitor conversations. I mean, there's a lot happening that we can use the data that COVID has been able to expose to for us to be able to do. Like now, we import fertilizer from Ukraine and Russia. Time for us to do our own fertilizer. Time for us to do our own wastage. Time for us to do our own glasses, plastics, toothpicks. And this, for me, creates an opportunity for young people. The one thing that young people need to understand is do not copy your neighbor's business. Come together. Umoja ni nguvu. The opportunities are in circles. If young people came together and formed circles to do, a circle to do probably producing phones, a circle maybe doing a component for laptops, a circle maybe doing telling stories, because we know all business is actually going out. How many people buy newspapers anymore?
Very few.
But people can come together, and one of the advantages we have is a devolution.
Right.
Like now, what are the opportunities for business in Kilifi or Lamu? Young people from there can come together and tell the news to the world, and tell the people that here we have opportunities in mining,
and
in agriculture, one of the biggest problems that young people are facing is alcohol and drugs. And we cannot police morality. But young people can actually come together and say, if people are going to take drugs, if people are going to take, alcohol, then let's have good quality alcohol. Instead of doing alcohol that is actually done in the
Back
village.
streets.
Yes.
Right.
And make money out of it. Because at the end of the day, the issue is to have good quality products and services. And young people have a lot of opportunities when they come together. I know the biggest challenge is normally, someone will say, yes, opportunities are there, but where's the money?
Where's the money to start it? Where's the capital?
If you and him and her came together and went to a bank, you can get
enough capital.
You can get, if you put the idea together properly, the banks can give you up to 3 million unsecured, up to 10 million unsecured. People right now, what we need is young people to have a conversation that the content I developed, the video I did, is my collateral. Before,
that is intellectual property which you can use.
Before, and I'll be talking about intellectual property being an asset. Young people can actually say, and you know, change happens when people converse about something. Change happens when people say, this is a product, this is a good. Now, what I did on my Facebook or my Twitter or my TikTok is my product, my property, and I can leverage this to get money. Your website, your Twitter account is actually your property, and how you manage it can actually be property that can actually be quantified into financial aspect. So there is a huge opportunity, but for this to happen, for people to realize this, is we need to have conversations. It's a challenge for young people. I see a lot of conversations happening online. I see a lot of conversations every day. You see a new trend. Why can't we actually, as we are talking about how this dress will look on me, or this suit look on me when I'm going for dinner, why can't you also say, how can my account on TikTok with maybe 10,000 views and 5,000 likes become collateral for me to get a loan, for me to do more content for people. So opportunities are there. COVID has shown us that we need to be self-reliant. We need to believe in one another. We need to stop looking at KRA and CMA and these regulatory bodies as the enemy, and reach out to them and say, how do we have a partnership so that we can understand? Because it's important for us to understand that paying taxes will give us better roads, will give us better hospitals, will give us better services. But the other thing also is that young people need to understand that if you borrow money, it's important to pay back. So financial literacy is actually a key component in growing wealth.
Yes. Okay. Now, we are in a situation where we are looking at, you know, opportunities that came out of COVID. How can we survive during COVID times? But now, for any other situation that we might face, you know, a global health crisis, global recession, what kind of precautions can someone take out there to ensure they're ready for any of such eventualities?
Actually, you don't need to go far. Just even before we recovered from COVID, the Ukraine-Russian war is actually happening. And many military analysts say that the war will be on for a while. And many have said that the only way the war will end is in a boardroom, where both the relevant stakeholders will come and sit together. So we've seen the impact of what this has done. We've seen a lot of European and American countries creating a lot of sanctions on Russia, especially when it comes to global payments. And we've seen India and Russia actually, and China, picking one side versus the rest. And we've seen Africa actually just taking a neutral position. So we're seeing changing geopolitics, we're seeing globalization changing, we're seeing SWIFT. SWIFT is actually the global interlink for financial payments. We've seen India saying that they're going, if China agrees with them, they'll launch a new payment system. And we know that when it comes to money, we're actually one unit. We are linked. And so the COVID and the Russian war have taught us that it's actually very important for a country and an individual to have an emergency fund. And you know, you can ask me, how am I supposed to have an emergency fund if I don't even have food? You know, I've not eaten for 2 days. How am I going to have an emergency fund? And so I'm saying young people need to come together and work as a team. That is one. Look at opportunities. Many of us come to Nairobi thinking it's the only place for opportunities. But with devolution and internet, you can make money from home.
Elsewhere.
The 100 shillings that you make in Nanyuki, in Kirinyaga, in Webuye, is the same 100 shillings you make in Nairobi. Money has the same value. And in fact, it has more value. If
anything, it has less value in the city.
In the city, and has more value up country. So come together, work together. There are those who are meant to be in business, there are those who are meant to be employees. Try your luck where you can. If not, come together, go online, look for opportunities. As the economy recovers, more brands are looking for more people to advertise. And nowadays, anyone can become a celebrity. And you can, you know, we've seen what Aziad has done with this TikTok. She's now a big brand. We've seen more people coming up every day. We've seen Akina Crazy Kena doing content, and now they're making millions just advertising for brands. So
there are opportunities around.
There are opportunities. Young people need to believe in themselves. If you make some money, try and save money for a rainy day. Shortcuts will not get you there. If anything, shortcuts will give you a good life for 1 year, 2 months, and then the police will catch up with you. So opportunities in agriculture, there are opportunities in manufacturing, opportunities in security, opportunities in logistics. People, you know, people now you know, with things becoming very expensive, with fuel becoming very expensive, people are looking for bargain deals. Courier service is actually becoming better. Deliver things for people. Do clothes for people, washing for people, because we're seeing soap becoming very expensive. So opportunities are there.
Right.
But how do people see these opportunities? Go online, look at conversations, join groups, see what people are actually doing and discussing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Soko Analyst. # Nico Chonja. Remember, that's why we've been having that look on your feedback. So if you have any feedback, be using that. But maybe finally, because I'm seeing time is also not so much on our side, 9:26 in the morning, keep sending us your feedback on KUTV Kenya live on Facebook, and also where we are streaming on YouTube, KUTV Kenya live as well. Tag us at Soko Analyst, at Richard_Okenya. Now, maybe some of the places where young people can get information and a look into the opportunities that are around them is Soko Directory. Could you maybe take this chance to inform us on what they can look forward to in getting a Soko Directory, and how they can get on the platform, and what the future would look like for them if they used this and also other resources for business?
So basically, there are a lot of opportunities that I've said, especially when you look at devolution for a country. So at socodirect.com, what we do is we have journalists in every county, and they're able to tell us on a day-to-day basis what opportunities are there for anyone, especially young people, to invest in. So on our website, we look at we do financial literacy. We partnered with a financial literacy firm called Abojani, whereby we train young people on how to manage money. We train young people on how to understand money better. We tell stories of people who are actually doing it and succeeding the right way, above board, who pay taxes, who follow the law. If you come on our website, you'll see a lot of stories per county, where opportunities are in terms of investment, where opportunities are in terms of access to credit, where opportunities are in terms of how people can be able to work together. And we're having conversations every day on Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. We are using the hashtag Soko News, where young people can be able to follow conversations and how to make money, on which brands are looking for people to advertise. And it's a big conversations every day. And for me, what I keep saying is information is power. And if people keep talking, people keep searching. And we're not the only platform. There are many more platforms, but ours can be able to give you more opportunity in terms of insurance, banking, Forex. Like we're telling people the truth about Bitcoin, we're telling people the truth about Forex trading, and where you can be able to do better trading so that you're not scammed. So there are a lot of scammers online also. Where there's opportunity, there's always be a negative energy to it. So it's always important for young people to actually read fast and understand better.
All right. Someone else did tag, it's interesting you've mentioned Rufus there. You've mentioned Bitcoin, and Rufus here on social media alikuwa tagged saying that, wakisema I invite him to talk matters of Bitcoin. I don't know if you will be open to also having that kind of conversation. Actually,
I think Bitcoin is a conversation that you need to educate young people on. If you look at today's Business Daily and even The Nation, they're talking about wash, online fraud. And Bitcoin is actually just a product of the technology, blockchain technology. And Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies that are actually there. And we've seen a lot of more cryptocurrencies. And we've seen a lot of people losing almost 2.4 billion USD, people being scammed. Cryptocurrencies are assets where people can be able to invest in. And Kenyans need to understand what kind of asset, what kind of value asset it provides. Is it like land? Is it like shares? So this is a key conversation so that you need. You need to bring.
You can definitely have.
Yeah, because believe me, young people are telling their parents to sell land to give them money to invest in Bitcoin or to do online trading, and they get scammed and they losing their money. So education is important for people to know what is Bitcoin, what is Forex trading, what are online shares and things like that.
Right. Last question. This one I got yesterday from one Nyangi Waweru. Akiliambia, don't forget to ask him his school number and house.
I was in Alliance. I was in Selwood. My number is 6817. Then I went to University of Nairobi to do law. Now I'm doing another degree in USIU on governance and leadership. Education is important. I know we've seen the challenge of degrees and things like that, but don't let that hold you back in life, as long as you do the right thing and you're above board.
Were you in the annex or in the main house?
I was in the main house.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go, Nyangi. You have your answer. Thank you very much, Soko Analyst, for having this conversation with us. We're hoping
pleasure.
that you can have you again.
I'm available.
Thank you
And
very
thank you for the opportunity.
Steve Biko, of course, check out Soko Directory and get more information on the world of business. That's where you get it at. On Twitter, at Soko Analyst, that's his personal handle. Interact with him there, and also any questions that we might have skipped that you wanted us to ask, you can ask there, and also on my personal handle. And as you forward, you'll get your answers back. Remember, we're coming back with more conversations on the economy and effects that are coming out of many other aspects around us, especially now that we are right out of WRC. Well, out on Naivasha, if you're still stuck on the way back, must be nice to be you. However, right about now, we're coming with Captain Manu Tonge. What are the impacts, especially on the economy of Kenya, from WRC that happened in Naivasha last year? 4 billion Kenyan shillings injected into the economy. How about this year? Let's find out. Don't go too far.